Hi, I'm Sam from Needcraft, and today I'm going to show you how to make up one of our textile wall art kits from our great creative range at Needcraft. These kits are fantastic if you just want to take a simple, beautiful piece of fabric and make it into a picture to go on your wall. The kits come in rectangles, squares and circles, so you can choose the right shape for the fabric and in a variety of different sizes as well. So if you see something that you really like in the shops, a particular piece of fabric to either match your home or contrast your home, you can put them up on the wall just like these ones here behind me. So a really simple and effective way of getting something totally unique into your home. So first of all, we'll have a little look and see what you get inside of your kit. So we have our frame, which is going to be the frame around the kit, and these kits are really creative. So this is your frame, and as you can see, it's got lovely rounded corners here. We've also got these hanging eyelets, so that means you can either have it portrait like this, or you can have it landscape. So it again gives you lots and lots of options. So the frame is coated in white plastic, but you won't see that at all as part of the kit when it's all made up. So it's going to look really super professional. You also have your panel. This is what we're going to cover as part of the kit today. And this has a sticky back adhesive on here. It's a white PVC, so really professional. And also as part of the kit, you'll just notice that there's a kit cut all the way around. And this is already scored for you, so it means it's really easy to remove, and that's going to allow us to have a fabric margin around the edges. So if you're a beginner to this kind of kit or product, this is really straightforward and very simple. Also in the kit you get two other pieces, so you get your double-sided high-tack tape. Now this is a fantastic product, and basically this is flexible, it's transparent, for which I'll explain why later, and we're going to apply this to the frame to make your wall art kit up. So a really nice high-tack sticky tape there. You'll also see in your kit this finishing tool, and what we're going to do in the final stages, just to get a very neat edge, is we're going to tuck all our fabric underneath the frame. So this is what we'll use that for. And this has got two long straight edges, a sharp point, and then a serrated edge. And then finally, as with all of our kits, you get a really professional photo tutorial sheet. So everything is in here step by step. So you can either watch me on the video as you're making up the kit, or you can use these as a little bit of an aid memoir, full of tips and hints, double-sided, and a really good way to kind of make your kit up professionally and follow through. So this is a perfect kit to get really creative with. If you're a sewer, you might want to applique something on in advance. So for this kind of size of kit, certainly you could put on a child's name on there. You might want to put a message on there. You might want to print on a plain piece of fabric. You could also do something like child's handprints with their name and their date of birth. You could put Christmas holly, anything you wanted to. So really, this is a blank canvas for you to start with. So with the fabrics themselves, what I would recommend is that you always stick with a woven fabric. So that might be something like a cotton or a linen. It would even take an upholstery weight fabric, but stay clear of stretch because it just doesn't work along with the sticky back adhesive. It can stretch out of shape quite easily and won't give you the professional product that you're really looking for. So to make your kit up at home, all you're going to need in terms of tools is a pair of fabric scissors, or alternatively you can use a craft knife. If you do use a craft knife, just be careful to make sure that you have a cutting mat on your clean flat surface. And then I usually just have a little pair of scissors as well to cut my tape. Let's move on to making up our kit. In terms of fabric, you just need to make sure it's cut to size, so you're not dealing with a large amount of fabric, and all of the sizes are handily on the front of the boxes. You just need to make sure that it's ironed because obviously you don't want any creases in your final product. So press nice and flat, and we're just going to lay that down on the table with the front of the fabric facing downwards. So take your panel and basically we're just going to position that so it's in the centre there, so that's where I want it to be. And if you've got any particular seam that you wanted in, just make sure that it sits within the kiss cut line, so in the inner oval on here on the rectangle. So you need to just make sure that it sits inside. This doesn't matter too much with this fabric because it's an all over print, so it should work quite well. And all we need to do is basically peel back the paper on the back of the self-adhesive PVC panel, and we're just going to position that in place. Now once we've got that stuck down in place, that's where it will stay. You can take it off again if you make a mistake. It's quite forgiving, but we're just going to get started. So I'm just going to position mine there, and I'm just making sure that's lined up with here. And all I do is rub down with the base of my fist, and then you just simply pull the backing paper away, and then again push down with your fist, and just continue that all the way along. So really nice and easy and straightforward. So again, pull away, and on some of the smaller kits you can literally just take the backing paper straight off because they're a little bit smaller, but this one's a little bit larger. So there we go, you can see that that's all on now. Really nice and simple. And I always just flip over and I just make sure that there's no catches underneath. Make sure that there isn't any frays. There we go. That's all looking lovely. So it's just to check that the right side that's going to be facing outwards on the wall textile kit is looking good. And then just simply take your scissors or your craft knife, whichever you prefer, and you just need to cut around the edge of the PVC. So just be careful not to cut into the PVC, but just use it as a guide for the edge of your scissors. There, so we've just cut around the edge now, so that gives us our final shape. And what we're going to do is remove the kiss cut. So as I said, this is a margin, so what it allows is a fabric margin around the edge, and all you need to do is crack that back in a couple of places. On the corners particularly, it comes away really easily, so just fold that back, but gently, don't be too heavy-handed with it. There we go, and you can just hear that snapping open. And then gently just lift up one of the corners and carefully pull that away. And we just want to do that quite slowly because we don't want to pull too many frays away. So my fabric is fraying a little bit, you can see here. I'm just going to pull those tangles away. And we will never see those edges, so it's not something that's going to be seen as part of the overall kit, but we do need to make sure that we don't lose too much fabric on those sides and edges. So that's the margin that I mentioned earlier. You can see now how that's left us exactly the right amount of fabric for us to tuck underneath the frame. So looking really good so far. So I'll just turn that the right way round, and then we're going to move on to our frame. So the double-sided high-tack tape that I mentioned to you before is transparent, and it's transparent for a reason. And the reason is that we want to be able to see where we're positioning it onto the frame. So you just need to take your frame and just position the tape, and we're going to go all the way around so that it sits in the centre of the two edges of the tape. So it literally, you can see through, it doesn't have to be millimetre perfect, but it does need to be centred as much as possible. And the reason is we're going to roll that tape around in the next stage. So just keep moving round. That's it, and just round the corners, just making sure that it's adhering. And I just kind of do sections at a time, just moving forward, just small sections so I can keep in control of it. And then where the two tapes meet, I usually just leave a tiny gap one of the reasons is because it's quite tricky to undo afterwards, and the other one is so that you can see where your two tapes meet. So with your fingers and your thumbs, you're just going to push the tape around the frame. So this is quite important because we want to have as much tape as possible on the frame, because that's what's going to hold our kit together. So just pushing it round. There we go. So that's now all the way around. So just on the corners, make sure it's sealed down really well. There we go. Okay. And no sooner as we've put the tape on, we're going to take the backing off, because that's what we need to do for our next stage. So just when you do this, just make sure that you're only lifting up the red section. You shouldn't peel off the tape itself, because obviously it's very tacky, but just if you grab it on that first stage, you can sometimes just pull the edges up. So gently remove that. So now you've taken off your backing tape, you just need to make sure that the eyelets sit upwards towards you. So you can see here that they're just sat protruding on one side of the frame. So that frame, part of the frame, needs to be to the top. And also at this point, you just need to consider your fabric and how you're going to hang your frame as well. So this one clearly has a direction, and it's going landscape. So we're going to want to make sure that these are at the top here. If you were doing a portrait and it had an image on, say, of a flower in a vase, you would want them at the top of the flower. So just have a little think, have a little look, and make sure that you're going to stick this down the right way. So I'm just going to position this on, and the best way to do is just to look from above and just simply position this over the PVC. So it shouldn't be sitting on the fabric. So just make sure on all your four corners that it's sat within the PVC. They're exactly the same shape, so it should be really straightforward just to simply go down. But I find standing up a little bit easier because it means that you get a full view of the frame and of the PVC, which works really well. So that's now already stuck down, so you can see how quick, simple and easy this kit is. So the next stage is to just lift up the whole piece, and we're just, with our fingers and thumbs, we're just going to simply push down the fabric, and I've just left it a little bit loose there, so pull it a little bit tighter along the edge, and we're just pushing that down to create a lovely professional edge. So on these corners, it's worth noticing that you just need to do some little folds in of the fabric to give you a really nice clean edge. So just keeping going round. And you can also do this looking from the top, because then you get a view. Just get yourself started. So again, folding that fabric, so just so it goes around the corner, and that's lovely. So you can already see now from the front how that's starting to look. So it's starting to look really professional, and a lovely way to just hang a simple piece of beautiful fabric on the wall. So for our final stage, we just now need to take our finishing tool. And you remember at the start I mentioned that this has got two straight edges and a sharp point, and then a serrated edge. You can use this in lots of different ways. I prefer to use the point, put my fabric under, but by all means use the serrated side as well. And what we're going to do now, and it's good to start on the long clean edge, because it means then you can kind of get used to the feeling of tucking the fabric in. So you take this in your hand, and I've just lifted the panel a little bit with my hand to start off with, and you just simply push the fabric underneath. So with that tightening that we've done there around the frame, that should mean that you should be fairly free to push that underneath. And then once you get going, you can just keep tucking under. So you'll hear a little bit of a cracking sound sometimes as you're going round, and what that is the tape lifting away from the PVC panel, so it's allowing the fabric to go underneath. And if you've got any frays, you just simply use the points. The serrated edge, you can get quite large chunks underneath at one time. So that's how you can use that side, or you can use the long side again to smooth. So it's a multi-tool really, you can use it in different ways and you'll find your own technique with this, but our aim is really to get the fabric underneath the edge there. And it's good to not place your hand on and firm the frame down too much, because what that does is obviously it means that you haven't got enough room then to put your fabric underneath. So just bear that in mind. So just smooth all those loose ends underneath, and then when you get to the corners, exactly the same again. We're just tucking the fabric underneath. There we go. And you have to kind of not be too gentle, but obviously not too much force either. So just a little bit of firm pressure under there, and that will make sure all that fabric goes underneath. And we're coming up to the eyelet, so I'm just going to pause a minute. And with the eyelet, what I do is just a little snip in, and I'll do the other one now while we're here. And all this is going to allow is for the fabric to go down each side of the eyelet. So it's just basically creating a little cut above them. So just going back to our tucking in, and for the eyelet you just need to tuck. I took the sharp end, there we go, it's gone under okay. Took the sharp end in around there, and now we're down onto our next one. And if this becomes bent at any point, you can just simply take a pair of normal scissors and cut that off, and you've got your sharp point again. So that makes it really handy to kind of reuse. So just again around the eyelet, just use the point to get in behind the eyelet. There we go, and that's tucked in nicely. So just check for any last little frays. There we go. So I think you'll agree that this finished textile wall art kit looks absolutely brilliant. In terms of hanging, you've got your eyelets on the back, as we've mentioned, and you can use a couple of methods. You can use either traditional hammer and nails to put those up with something like a small picture hook, or alternatively, you can use some of these Velcro strips. So there's lots of different ways that you could pop this up on the wall, and you just need to measure between your eyelets to make sure that you get those in the right position so it sits level. So in terms of these kits, we have them in all different shapes and sizes. So they come in circles, squares and rectangles, and we have them in small, medium and large. So lots of different options to complement your home, depending on the size of your space or which type of fabric you want to showcase. So thank you for watching, and I hope we've inspired you to make lovely things for your home or for your friends and family, or even to start up your own small business with our textile wall art kits. Thank you.